All right. Good afternoon. Am I coming through?
Loud and clear, Sam.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sam Goodman. I'm the Program Manager in the Department of Energy's Office of Manufacturing and Energy Supply Chains, who's overseeing these rebate programs. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be posted for future reference. By having your camera or microphone on during this webinar, you are consenting to having your images and sounds recorded. I'd like to thank you all for joining us here today. This webinar is designed to provide information about our newly launched rebate programs for energy efficient transformers and extended product systems. Our program for today includes 3 presentations. We will begin with an overview of the Office of Manufacturing and Energy Supply Chains, abbreviated as MESC or MESC, provided by the office's Principal Deputy Director, David Howell, followed by an overview of the rebate programs by myself, and concluding with a tutorial of the application portal by Mr. Rita Subani, the Senior Director for Energy and Sustainability Programs at ICF. We will not be taking any live questions during the webinar, and please direct all questions to our program email address, doerebates@icf.com. I'd like to now turn it over to Mr. Dave Howell for the overview of MESC.
Thank you, Sam, and Jake Ward on our team here at MESC and our team at ICF. Certainly my pleasure to be here, and thank all of our attendees for participating in this important program. As Sam mentioned, I want to give a quick overview of our office here that oversees this rebate program, the Manufacturing and Energy Supply Chains Office. So Sam, if you could go to the next slide. So our office is fairly new here at the Department of Energy. We were stood up in February of 2022 as a result of the funding that the Department of Energy inherited from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act. But even predating that, the Department of Energy was given the charge to develop a supply chain report that cuts across all of the energy sector industrial base, and particularly highlighting the key risk areas in the manufacturing sector for the energy sector industrial base across the clean energy manufacturing spaces, as you see here on the right side of this chart, that couple together about 12 to 13 different segments of the energy sector industrial base, from high capacity batteries to electric grid transformers and high voltage DC circuits, all the way to magnets and nuclear energy to renewables as well. So it's a very comprehensive report that lays out dozens of critical strategies and actions that the federal government could employ in order to build a resilient and diverse domestic energy supply chain industrial base. These formulate the MESC action plans as we go forward, and the rebate programs funded by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law are a key part of our activities. So next slide, Sam. So the department, many of you may know, we have a long-standing history on science and innovation, particularly in the fundamental science and applied research spaces. And so as we go forward with the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act funding, which totals billions of dollars into the Department of Energy, the leadership here at the Department of Energy decided to stand up a specific undersecretary's office to actually implement these major manufacturing and supply chain type activities and deployment activities. So the MESC mission is brand new to the Department of Energy. Our mission is to scale up and deploy new manufacturing infrastructure that's critical to the the energy sector industrial base, whether that's new manufacturing infrastructure to fill critical gaps, or even manufacturing facility upgrades to reduce energy burden and carbon emissions. We also have as part of our mission to support the training of the next generation domestic manufacturing workforce. On the right side of this chart, we also are focused on continuing to build out our knowledge base related to the manufacturing and energy supply chains, particularly using the Department of Energy's capabilities on modeling, mapping, and analysis. That we have a lot of resources at our national laboratories and universities that we use to do this. So for the supply chain segment, it's really looking at raw materials and refining all the way to component manufacturing and system assembly to even end use and recycling. And so we're building this modeling capability out, this mapping capability out, so we can identify key areas of the energy sector industrial-based supply chains that we can use our levers in both BIL and IRA in order to address these key issues that we identify, and also to understand how these different sectors interact with key areas of the supply chain, particularly in the critical minerals area. Next slide, Sam. So we have 3 program offices under us. As you see here, Facilities and Workforce Assistance Office supports small and medium manufacturing enterprises. Really, the broad stakeholder groups and regional stakeholder groups are serviced there. Our Battery and Critical Materials Office, just like it sounds, our focus is on filling the supply chain gaps related to advanced high-capacity batteries, whether that's in refined material products or battery components like cathodes and anodes, and cell manufacturing, pack manufacturing, and recycling. And then our third office here is Analysis and Strategic Investment Office that leads our rebate program plus other areas, as you'll see here. Key focus here is on analysis, that modeling, mapping, and analysis activity, and supporting the supply chain through critical components, devices, and systems manufacturing. Next slide, Sam. So even though we're a brand new office, as I've mentioned, we actually inherited quite a few key programs that are funded through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act. As you see listed here, our Facilities and Workforce Assistance Office has $1.365 billion to implement over the next 5 years, spanning from supporting our industrial assessment centers and expansion of that activity in implementing assessments from our industrial assessment centers to upgrade facilities and reduce carbon emissions and increase productivity of small and medium-sized enterprises. We also have, manufacturing recycling grant program in distressed communities and a state manufacturing leadership program in that office. And battery and critical materials, as I mentioned, all in on all things batteries, supporting the stand-up of manufacturing capability from that upstream mineral separation and refining all the way through battery recycling. We're also working to develop activities associated with the rare earth elements to claim those from non-traditional resources such as mine tailings and acid mine drainage. We're working with that program with the Fossil Energy and Carbon Management Office. And our third office, as you see here, Analysis and Strategic Investment Office. Rebate program falls under that. Our tax credit program in support of the Treasury Department is implemented through this office, along with our Defense Production Act program and other things. So gives you a quick layout of the Manufacturing and Energy Supply Chains Office. If you have any questions about any of these activities, or you want to have more information on those, please reach out to the organizers here, to Sam and Jake, and we can get you in contact with the right teams associated with these programs. Next slide, Sam. So one last slide. Did want to highlight, stay in touch. You see the connection here that you can use to get in touch with anyone in the MESC office, but did want to highlight the Defense Production Act Authority that MESC actually implements. The President provided the authorization for DOE to use DPA Authority on key areas of the energy sector industrial base, as you see here. Transformers and electric grid components are part of those key areas, along with clean hydrogen, solar, insulation, and heat pumps. The Inflation Reduction Act provided funds for heat pumps, but we are also soliciting, our appropriators to provide funds to support these other key areas. So while appropriations, like I said, to date specifically are tied to the heat pump programs, we're looking to continue to support transformers and electric grid components as funds are available in the future. Just wanted to highlight that. Keep your ears and eyes posted on this. We hope to have more work in these areas going forward. Next slide, Sam. I think that's my final slide. So thank you. Back over to you, Sam.
Sam, if you're speaking, we do not hear you.
So let me come back on. I think Sam has to reboot his computer. Here he comes. Okay, Sam, are you with us?
Thanks, Dave, and apologies everyone for the technical difficulties. We're trying to get a version of Sam's slides on another system so we can share those and allow him to talk through them. Thanks everyone for your patience.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, Sam.
Apologies for that technical issue. I appear to be back.
We can see you now. We cannot see your slides as a heads up, Sam.
And how about now?
Looks great.
All right. Apologies for the technical difficulties, everyone. Thank you, Dave, for that overview of MESC. Transitioning now to the rebate program, I will be discussing an overview of the different program areas, including eligibility, the value of rebates, and required information for making a submission. The rebate portal will be accepting applications for both rebate programs. The first is for extended product systems, which we abbreviate as EPS. These are systems combining an electric motor, electric control, and a driven load. Common examples of equipment including an EPS include pumps, fans, and compressors. A second program is for energy efficient distribution transformers that are used to replace inefficient distribution transformers. Both $10 million programs are authorized under Section 40555 of the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, commonly referred to as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, or BIL. and they're governed by the Energy Act of 2020, Sections 1005 and 1006. The statutes governing the programs may be found in Title 42 of United States Code, Sections 6311 Note and 6317 Note. All applications are made through the web portal that will be described following this presentation. For more information about any of the topics discussed in this webinar, please see the statute and DOE's posted guidance. We'll be talking about each program in turn, starting with transformers. This program is designed to provide rebates for new energy-efficient transformers that are used to replace energy-inefficient transformers. In order to qualify, the project must involve decommissioning and scrapping the old transformer and installing the new one. A wide range of entities are qualified to receive a transformer rebate, ranging from owners of commercial and industrial facilities to utilities and residential buildings. Qualified entities are eligible to apply for rebates for qualified transformer replacements that are ongoing, have been concluded, or are awaiting installation, provided they meet the criteria for transformer eligibility. The program will be dispersing funds on a rolling basis, with additional preference for applications covering installation in disadvantaged communities. Once the funds are expended, the program will end. The first major eligibility criterion governs the energy inefficient transformer that is being replaced. The program does not cover new installations or capacity upgrades, as the goal is to remove from service energy inefficient transformers that would not normally be replaced. This figure shows a decision tree to determine if an inefficient transformer is eligible. First, the old transformer must meet the definition of a distribution transformer, per Title 10 Code of Federal Regulations, Section 431.192. Then, the requirements vary depending on the type of transformer, whether it is a liquid immersed or medium voltage dry type transformer. For each type, a qualified energy inefficient transformer will fail to meet DOE's efficiency standards, as defined in Title 10 CFR, Section 431.196. Finally, the transformer must have been manufactured in a specific time frame to qualify. DOE is not requiring additional testing to confirm that the efficiency of these older distribution transformers would not meet the relevant energy conversion standards. Rather, DOE is assuming transformers manufactured prior to DOE efficiency standards would not meet the relevant energy conversion standards. Transformers manufactured outside of the listed dates are not eligible. That requirement was set forth by Congress to encourage replacements of transformers that may not be replaced absent a rebate. Criteria for the replacement energy efficient transformer are more straightforward. Rebates are only available to entities doing a like-for-like replacement. That is, they have identical kVAs and phases. Rebates are not available for purchases that are upgrading capacity. For example, replacing a 50 kVA transformer with a 70 kVA transformer would not be an eligible replacement. Applications for transformers that exceed DOE's proposed energy conversion standards, which are available in Volume 88 of the Federal Register, page 1722, are highly encouraged. The total value of the rebate depends on the energy efficiency of the replacement and replaced transformers. Each rebate is equal to $2 multiplied by the difference in core loss between the new and old transformers, with more efficient replacements thus receiving greater rebates. An example calculation is shown here on the slide. Entities may submit for rebates for as many qualifying replacements as they have. However, each entity may, initially, only receive up to $25,000 across all rebates. That cap may be raised at DOE's discretion, so entities are encouraged to submit for as many applications as they qualify for. The application for a rebate requires multiple pieces of information. First, the applicant will need to provide details, including things like the address, contact information, and a description of the entity itself. They will then need to submit information about the decommissioned transformer, such as its installed location, its rated capacity, and when it was manufactured. Applicants will be required to submit a photo of the transformer's nameplate so DOE can verify that it is qualified. If using the default values from the implementation guidance, no additional information is required to verify core loss values. Otherwise, additional submission materials will be required. Similar information is required for the energy efficient transformer, including the installed location, a photo of the nameplate, and the capacity. Applicants must submit the purchase order date of the qualified energy efficient transformer and a copy of the invoice or proof of payment. Submissions for future delivery dates are acceptable, and sample or draft nameplates from the manufacturer are acceptable in those instances. The core loss, as measured by DOE test procedures, and core material, either amorphous or grain-oriented electric steel, are also required submission information, and those are typically provided by the transformer manufacturer. Finally, the application requires certification that the decommissioned transformer will be scrapped within the next 2 years. This timeline provides a buffer to account for long lead times in the supply chain. Entities will be required to maintain a record of receipt from a third-party scrapper for a minimum of 5 years, and DOE may request that evidence to confirm decommissioning. Failure to provide evidence of scrapping may require a return of the rebate. Moving on to the Extended Product Systems, or EPS, this program shares many of the same characteristics as the Transformer program. Qualified EPS rebates recipients are either the purchasers of qualified EPSs or the owners of redesigned equipment that newly incorporates a qualified EPS. Like transformers, rebates will be dispersed on a rolling basis until funds are expended. Qualified EPS has several core characteristics. It must include an electric motor and electronic control that can vary the speed of the motor. The EPS must be able to automatically adjust the motor speed based on some process characteristics, such as temperature, pressure, or flow rate. Systems must be larger than 1 horsepower in total power output. And finally, it must improve the energy efficiency by at least 5% compared to standards set by DOE. The requirements also depend on the type of EPS being submitted. There are additional instructions in the guidance for evaluating the eligibility of specific systems, such as pumps, fans, and air compressors. Please see the guidance for those specific details. Rebate available for each EPS depends on its power output. The qualifying entity may receive a rebate equaling the sum of the rated horsepower of the electric motor and electronic control multiplied by $25. Like in transformers, entities may receive up to $25,000 across all rebates, this time with the caveat that that is per calendar year, and the cap will not change per the authorizing statute. The submission requirements for EPSs largely mirror those for transformers. Entities must provide information about themselves, where the property is installed, photos and other nameplate information, and proof of purchase. Specific to EPS, applicants must also provide an estimate of the annual operating hours of the system, documentation to support efficiency values, and for redesigned systems, descriptions of the previous system configuration and confirmation that previous control systems were removed. More information about these programs, including the detailed technical guidance documents, may be found on MESC's website, which are listed here. Please send any questions about either program to doerebates@icf.com. I'd like to now move to our next presentation about how to use the portal with Mr. Rida Sabuni.
Thank you, Sam. Let me just share my screen here. Okay, is this coming across okay?
Looks good.
Looks good, Rita.
Great, thank you. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Rida Sabuni, and I'm a Senior Director for Energy and Sustainability Programs at ICF. We're very happy to be supporting DOE and President Biden's Investing in America agenda in our role as the third-party administrator for the MESC Energy Efficient Transformers and Extended Product System rebate programs. So I'll go ahead and get started. For the next 15 minutes or so, this is the brief agenda that I have. I'll go over a quick overview of the rebates portal as a whole, and then go over the registration process. I'll spend a few minutes doing a live demonstration of the registration, and then finish up the presentation with an overview of the rebate application for both of the rebate programs, and then finish up with a recap. Okay, so to start on the rebate portal. So first things first, where do you find this portal, right? So you could actually just start from the DOE web pages that Sam described. There is the Energy Efficient Transformer Rebates Program page that's shown on the left side of your screen, and on the right side of your screen is the Extended Product System Rebates Program page. If you navigate to those pages, you will notice an application portal that is shown in the green box on the left for the transformer program, and then in the green box to the right for the Extended Product System program. And that, if you click on that link, that will take you to the rebate portal for these two programs, and you could access this at any time. Once you get into the portal, this is the screen that you will see, the home page. And so the intent here is to have a single rebates portal for both of these MESC rebate programs. And we were trying to keep this as simple as possible, the process to register and then to apply for the rebates. So it is a two-step process. You first register the organization. This is a one-time registration to the portal for all organizations applying to either or to both rebate programs. And then you apply to the program. After ICF staff confirm eligibility, you'll be able to then submit rebate applications through the portal. And then the portal will be your access point that you can check for any application status updates or program updates. And then at any time, we do have an email address that we have set up, like Sam mentioned, for any questions or technical support that we could provide throughout the registration or application process. So that is doerebates@icf.com. So you can see the web address as well. If you want to directly go to that the rebate portal, you could see it on the bottom side of the screen, doerebates.mysite.com/rebates. Okay, so let me just go over the registration for a few minutes here. I have some screenshots that show the registration process, and then I'll be going in a little more detail in a live demonstration. So it is really just a simple 3 screens of inputs that we are requesting as part of this initial registration. It starts out with organizational details that you could see on the screen, and I'll go over the details, but basically asks for organizational details, a W-9 documentation, and a physical address. After you click Next, it'll take you to point of contact details, a mailing address, and then finally a simple acknowledgement with your typing in your name to acknowledge that the information is correct. Right, so we're trying to keep it as simple as possible. That is the registration. And with that, let me just actually run a quick demonstration here for a few minutes. So I'm gonna flip over here to the program page. This is the Energy Efficient Transformer Rebates program page. Similarly, we have the Extended Product System Rebates page. And as I mentioned in my presentation, you could simply just click on the application portal. When you click on this, it will tell you that this is taking you to an external site. That's because it's taking you to the site that is run by ICF. So you could click OK a couple of times, and it will then take you to the home page. And now on this site, we do have some additional information about the programs as a whole that largely reflect the information on the DOE program pages. But if we simply just click on Register, it'll take you to the registration page. So I'm just going to run through this really quickly just to show a test example of how to go through the registration. So the first item or the first field that we request is the organization name. You could see required fields are indicated with the red star before the field. And so this is a required field. And we also have these little information bubbles that provide some additional details and context to the field itself. So the organization name is simply the name of the entity applying for the rebate payment. So we could just say ABC organization. If you have doing business as, that's something you could enter in the next field to the right, but that is an optional field. The next required field is employer identification number, or EIN, right? So the EIN is a 9-digit number that's assigned by the IRS. It's like a social security number, but really it's just for your business. And the IRS uses the EIN to identify tax-paying businesses. So I'm going to enter in the information here. Should be there. Okay. If you have a website, you could enter it in. Otherwise, you could put not applicable. We do request to indicate if you are a U.S. corporation or not. If you have a unique entity ID or UEI, we request that you enter that in this field right here. And that's something that can be you could get from sam.gov, right? So it's something you could get there. And then finally, we ask for the type, right? So it could be an industrial and manufacturing facility. So that's organizational details. Now, the next thing we request is a W-9 document, and we link to the IRS form where this can be accessed. So if you just click on this, you'll see that it takes you to this IRS form. It is a fairly simple form. This is a request for taxpayer identification number and certification. You can enter in some basic information here about the business name and the address, and then enter in a taxpayer identification number, which is the employer identification number that you also are entering into the portal, or the EIN. And then finally, just a simple certification. So we do request that organizations fill in this form, save the information, and then ultimately upload it into the system. So if you just click on upload, and I'll pick one of these files, click OK, and it'll upload it into the system, and you'll be fine for the W-9 document. The final part of this initial screen is the physical address. So I could just put in some quick information. And we do request the zip +4, and you could look that up using this USPS tool that we show in the information bubble. So I'll just put in some information here, test information, and now I'll click next. So the next screen here is point of contact details. So we could just put in the details here. We could put in an email address. I'll put in the help desk email here. Put in the phone number. We ask for a contact preference. That's in case we have any questions about your registration or your application. We will look to call or to email you. And then you put in the mailing address as the final part of this screen. Okay, so that is the second screen. And then finally is just the acknowledgement. So you could just type in your name, and that will then take you to the confirmation page. Okay, so once you hit the confirmation page here, you will receive a unique registration number, as you see on the screen. You will also receive an email to the email address that you put into the prior screen. So make sure you check your junk or your spam folders, just in case that email got sent there or got caught there. And what's going to happen next is the ICF application processing team will be reviewing your registration just to verify organizational information and eligibility. If you do not hear back from us, or if you want to email us for any reason, you could always reach out to us at doerebates@icf.com. So that is the registration process, and I will now flip back to the presentation here. Okay, so as I mentioned, what is going to happen after you submit your registration, the organizational registration? We are going to be just doing some checks for eligibility validation. So for example, we are looking for organizations to apply for these rebates, not individuals. So that is one first check we will be doing. We will be checking employer and identification numbers against IRS records. We'll be checking to make sure the organization is not a sanctioned entity, and checking for consistency between organizational details provided by the EIN and the sam.gov UEI, if that is provided. So after confirming organizational eligibility, that's when we will be emailing registrants with instructions on how to log into the application portal to submit the rebate applications. And that's the next part that I'll discuss here for just a couple of minutes. It's an overview of the application portal for each of the programs discussed. Okay, so I'll start with the transformer rebate application. And so this is just a summary table that we have taken from the DOE implementation guidance, which can be downloaded from the program page. And so my intent is not to read through each of these rows in these tables, but rather the slides will be provided on the DOE website. They'll be available anytime, and this can be a handy reference for the future. And so we basically show here the required product information for the qualified energy efficient transformer and also the decommissioned inefficient transformer, as Sam mentioned earlier, and then required documentation for the purchase of the qualified energy efficient transformer. So you can see the information in the tables here. I do want to emphasize, as Sam mentioned, rebates for the transformer program will be available only until December 31st, 2023, or until funds are exhausted. So there is a limited window here for this program that is in this calendar year. So I do want to urge everyone to apply for these rebates as soon as you can. So that is a transformer program. Next slide here now shows the extended product system rebate application for information that we are requesting for air compressors. Again, it shows the required product information and the required documentation. More details, again, are available at the DOE implementation guidance document that you could download from the program page. The next page shows a similar set of two tables for fans, again, in the extended product system rebate applications. And then finally for pump systems for extended product system rebate applications, showing required product information and required documentation. So with that, I will recap in this page here. So the portal is now open for registration. I do want to encourage everyone to go to the portal and register your organization as soon as you can. For transformers, entities may initially receive up to a $25,000 cap in aggregate transformer rebates, but that may be raised at DOE's discretion, as Sam mentioned earlier. For extended product systems, again, entities may receive up to $25,000 in cap of aggregate EPS rebates that will be distributed based on when applications are received until the exhaustion of funds. And with that, I'll just mention again, any questions, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to help with any aspect of the registration or the application process. You could email us at doerebates@icf.com. I want to again encourage everyone to go to the portal now and register your organization. The application portal is still under development, but should be ready and able to receive applications. We anticipate sometime next week. So that is our timeline for next steps. And with that, I think I will turn it back over to Sam to wrap up the webinar.
Thank you, Rita, and thank you all for joining us today for this webinar. I would again like to apologize for the technical difficulties we experienced earlier. The recording of this session, including video of our slide presentations and the portal tutorial, will be posted online for your future reference. As Rita mentioned, the rebate portal is open for registration, and for additional information, please see the guidance documents on MESC's website for each program, and please send any questions to doerebates@icf.com. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you have a good afternoon.